Welcome to What It Takes to Build a Successful Startup. This is the third event in our series of What It Takes Alumni Talks, and this is organised by our Alumni Relations team. This particular event is organised in collaboration with the Westminster Enterprise Network. So my name is Dr. Irene Boo-Riverson. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Organisations, Economy and Society. We're based in Marylebone. And someone said, say something about yourself. I tend to say, because it's not about me today, I'm a teacher by day and a baker by night. And I hope that tonight we will go away inspired, challenged, really ready to take some action. Before we begin, it's my pleasure to introduce Yuste to you. She's from the Westminster Enterprise Network, and she's going to say a few words about opportunities which might be of interest to you. Yuste.
Can everyone hear me?
You have to use the handheld?
Hello?
Hi everyone, so my name is Yuste. As you might have heard, I work at We Network. I'm a marketing officer. I will only take a few minutes of your time today because we thought that since today's theme is about building a successful startup, it would be great for you all to find out more about We Network and what we do. So, We Network is university's enterprise hub, and we help students and graduates to help their businesses start a freelance career or build a side hustle. We also help students who are perhaps not sure what they want to do, so we also do a lot of free workshops about entrepreneurial skills, soft skills, with some amazing guest speakers. So everything that we do is for free. We're really keen to support you all into becoming the most successful selves. And we also, besides workshops and events, we also offer funding, mentoring, and some competitions as well. So, as far as I'm aware, half of this room today here is our alumni. So I thought it would be great to introduce you to our Elevate Business program that we do. Because as you can see on the screen, the deadline is 15th of November. So only less than a few weeks left for you to apply. So on the screen you can see main benefits for joining the program. It's a 6-month program that is starting in January. So we offer the key benefit of the program, as you can see in the bubble, is the funding. So we will offer up to 10K funding for your businesses. But to be eligible, you have to be alumni and you have to have a registered business in the UK. When it comes to other benefits, we offer business support, which is masterclasses, workshops, mentoring, coaching, funding, and then of course we give you access to our amazing community. So you can meet lots of like-minded peers. You also get access to mentors, networks, and university talent. You can scan the barcode if you wish to apply. I'm sure everyone got Elevate flyer once you came in. But since the other part of this room is students, we also have 2 amazing programs for both students and graduates. The first one is Starter 101. So it's for those who either want to create a business, have a business idea already, or already have a running business. So we also offer funding, which is from $250 to $1K, and program also includes lots of free workshops, mentoring, networking, pitching events, and competitions. I'm not sure if anyone heard about Big Idea. We just had a big grand final. And the winner, Elizabeth, she got 6K funding for her business, which is amazing. And also, after you finish Beyond Starter 101, we give you access to another program, which is called Beyond Starter 101. It's a 4-session program, just to give you a bit more knowledge about how to set up a business, do your finances, and all of that. And another program is called Freelance Essentials. So it's for those students who want to start either a side hustle, who have personal skills that they wish to pursue into freelancing career. So it's quite similar to Starter 101. It's workshops, mentoring, networking, pitching events. We also give you funding from $250 to $1,000. And after the program, you can also enter a Big Idea competition where you will get additional funding as well. So I don't want to take any more of your time. If you wish to get more information about any of these programs, there's brochures at it's not working anymore. There are brochures at the back, and also our student helpers wearing amazing merch will be here throughout the event, so feel free to ask them any questions that you have. Or you can email us, find us on LinkedIn. Here's the website as well. And yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, and hopefully everyone has taken something away from what you've said, and we'll have lots of people contacting the We Network. So to some housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen. The event is being recorded. If you are particularly bothered about how you might be looking this evening and you don't want us to publish what it is that we've seen of you, then please do let us know. But hopefully, I look around the room, everyone is looking beautiful and handsome, so hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. The recording will be available on the Alumni YouTube channel soon, I'm told. Okay, so to the structure of this evening then. So our panel is going to discuss their various experiences of building a startup, and they'll share advice to those of us who already have a startup perhaps, are thinking of starting up, or actually have no ideas whatsoever. Okay. Then we'll have a question and answer session, and people in the audience will be able to ask questions. We'll then be able to network and have some refreshments. We have some questions here, and we're hopeful that those questions might be particularly useful, but please do hold on to whatever else you might have to ask the panel. So, to our panelists. I believe we are not expecting a fire alarm. There's nothing organised, so if it does happen, we're going to head out and we will follow Laura. She will take us to a safe place. That's Laura there. Right, okay. So, we're going to start by asking our panelists to each introduce themselves, tell us a bit about what they studied at Westminster, when they graduated, and what they happen to be doing now. So we're going to start with Letitia to my right.
Thank you. So my name is Letitia Segler. I am the head of learning and programs and director at Do It Now, which is an accelerator program specifically for Black and underrepresented founders in the UK. I graduated from Westminster in 2008 when I was a mature student, so I actually chose to work before I went back to university. My line of work was investment banking, so I started working in investment banking as a secretary and kind of, just talked my way up until I became an analyst, and I was managing thousands of people on a trading desk. So in terms of things like graduate schemes, there are other ways to get into certain industries. I started my own business about halfway through my career in investment banking, built 3 businesses and sold them, and then now I work with accelerators, helping to develop programs. And what I like to say is to help other people escape the city. So that's what I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Letitia. We now move on to Dr. Wareed, who's going to help me look very, very young and live for another 50 years at least.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone, my name is Wareed Al-Aini. I'm the CEO and founder of a biotech company called Twin Health. We are on a mission to enable people to live healthier for as long as possible by implementing some of the new technologies that we can make accessible to everyone, hopefully. So I did my PhD in diagnostics that was focused on using non-invasive technologies to diagnose diseases at earlier stages, where we can actually do something at preventing them. And most of these diseases were chronic conditions, so it comes from accumulation over a long time. And the earlier you caught them, is the better in how you can prevent them and keep them away, so we can live healthier, away from illness for however we want to. That's ourselves, and we're looking forward.
Thank you. Welcome. We now hand over to Carol, to my left.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Carol. I'm the co-founder of Poldat. It's a marketplace app that connects dog walkers and dog owners on demand, tailored to their preferences. And we launched, it's been a year now, and actually I graduated from here in 2018. I did my master's degree in investment and risk finance, and after that I just started out with Polvat basically.
Fantastic, thank you. Welcome to And before I hand over to our last speaker for the evening, I'd just like to say something about her, a little extra. So the Westminster Alumni Awards recognise and celebrate the outstanding achievements of graduates from the University of Westminster, and they highlight various ways in which our graduates are making impact. We had an announcement just a few days ago, and I'm pleased to say that one of our panelists won the Entrepreneur Award. So Naveen, congratulations.
My name is Naveen Kutri. I'm the founder and CEO of Playdate, which is the UK's first dating app for single parents. I'm a single parent myself, and it was really created out of personal need. I graduated it back in 2005, so probably the eldest on this panel, in marketing communications. I did my MA in marketing communications. I used to have a prior business called Beacon Marketing, which is a marketing agency focused on travel and charity work as well as events, which, as you can imagine, during the pandemic, I lost my business then, and that's what kind of pushed me to start Playdate. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay. So we're going to start off by asking you about inspiration. So I realize that you've all perhaps been involved in various things. Some of you have just kind of started, etc. But we'd like to start, if you could tell us, Carol, what inspired you to start Pause Up, and tell us about the first steps that you took, please.
So I'm a dog owner, and like my passion in life was always dogs, and always like even when I was a kid, like all my birthday gift wants and needs were always about dogs. But of course, like talking about on the business side, I was living in the US, and I had a dog myself, and I used to use this similar app that is like Pause App in the US version, and it made my life so much easier. And when I moved to UK, I was searching for that app, but I couldn't find it. So I was like, it's like a gap in the UK market, and I got so excited, surprised, and I was like, with my co-founder, who's my sister, we thought like, let's do something about it. And basically our first step is always was to start small and think in terms of like minimum viable product. Even in the first days of starting the company, we were like, okay, our unique selling point was like on-demand dog walks. Then we just opened up a website, put a button there, like on-demand dog walks, and it literally forwarded to the WhatsApp of our WhatsApp, personal WhatsApp, and we would go to the walks. Like it was this small that we started, and the whole logic was always testing out the demand and like what are people do people really need this? Like we always started with that question and move forward with once we get the answers to that, basically.
Excellent. So for all the students who might be saying, I need thousands of pounds, we have an example here of bootstrapping and doing really well. And so can I go next to Dr. Marie, please?
Yeah, in our case, I think we never, for me, before starting the company, the intention was never to start a company. That was like not on the career map. I always knew that when you do a PhD, you're going to be either in academia or maybe do something in the private sector like consultancy. But during my years at the lab, I was really frustrated by the fact that you spend lots of time working with data in a way that can be really become more and more efficient and bring you that time back. So that problem, that pain point has been at the back of my head, going through the career, and then starting after the PhD, starting like with the career options I had. By that time, COVID was hitting, so there was like a lot of confusion around what we should really do. And then I started exploring other options, which was in the early stage venture space, where I came across a couple of accelerators, did a couple of consultancy projects on innovations and technology innovations, and from there, the company started forming itself in a commercial proposition as in a transition from the academic proposition. And it was really, I think, in our case, it was very natural. It was a pain that we felt and experienced, and then naturally you come across commercial or technical individuals, and you feel like, oh, actually, this might help. Plugging a need in the market. How we can test that so fast and see if there is an appetite, if we are right or wrong. And that's how it started. You start with the first testing, and once you find that appetite, you're okay, let's iterate and see how far we can go. Let's iterate and see how far you can go. And it's no matter what the stage is, it's the fact that you keep going to change, and you keep going to change, and you keep going. Sometimes it took long, sometimes it was shorter, but you get there.
Excellent, thank you so much. And so talking about iterations and going out to the market very, very quickly, Naveen, you did mention the fact that your business started from a personal need. Would you like to explore that a bit with us and how you took your first steps as well?
Sure. So I think for me, I was kind of forced into creating this business. And first of all, it was similar to Positive. It was very much a personal need. It was almost a selfish project, because how many people here use dating apps? Show of hands. Don't be shy. No? Yeah. So if you see someone who's a parent, you'll probably not really want, if you're not a parent yourself, you think, oh, kids, ex-partners, too much commitment, too much baggage. So for me, to go on a date, I've got to pay a babysitter, because I'm a single parent with no family here and no support, so it's a costly thing. And I don't want to end up going on a date and getting ghosted, which used to happen quite a lot. So during lockdown, when I lost my previous business, I was at a very low point in my life, and I thought, okay, I always had this idea, but never actually had the time to pursue it. I researched, and fun fact, there's 1,800 dating apps and sites in the UK alone. You've got vegan dating, you've got dating for over 50s, you've got dating for people with pets, so maybe you can link up with that. All kinds of dating, but nothing purely for single parents. There's about 3 million single parents in the UK alone. So I just felt that it was very much an untapped market. I did my research during lockdown and just didn't find anything out there that was specifically dating for single parents. One of the main pain points, as I mentioned, is childcare. So we partnered with the UK's leading childcare app called Bubble, which give our users discounts on booking instant on-demand, kind of similar to Positive again, childcare. So it's never an excuse not having a babysitter to go on a date. So it's just making dating accessible and hassle-free for time-poor single parents like myself.
Oh, fantastic, marvelous. I was just saying to Naveen that I went onto her website, and of course I had to pause at one point because I couldn't declare myself single. I mean, my husband would be most upset. But excellent that you have a partnership as well with people who provide childcare facilities. Natasha, you tell us that you started 3 businesses. Would you kindly unpack very quickly what motivated you, the steps you took, and then why Lively Tuition, please?
Okay, sure. So for me, it was always about starting with a problem. So either it's a problem that you are directly experiencing or problems that other people are experiencing. My first startup was a skincare business. So I was working in an office environment that was affecting my skin. And I started thinking about, if other people had the same issue. So I went to Ghana, where my family's originally from, and my cousin gave me some shea butter, and it transformed my skin. And I came back with about 100 kilograms of shea butter, and I told anyone and everyone that was on the bus, on the tube, at work, and I started getting orders.
How did you get through customs?
There's ways. There's ways, but I did go through the official route. But that was an accidental business. But again, it was a very personal problem. The second startup was a personal problem as well, in the sense that for a lot of melanated people, buying clothes from high street shops, especially women, is very difficult because we have different measurements in terms of our arms, our ratios, etc. So me and my nieces wanted to start a fashion brand that was for curvier women or more different shaped women. and we started to collect data. And then we realised actually the business was in the data and not in the fashion itself. So we pivoted our business, and one of our friends who works for prisons, she actually helped us to think about how to get the data so we could get a lot of data from women in prisons. So we ended up having millions and millions of data points, and we realised that the business, the money was actually in the data and not in the fashion brands. So we then sold the data business, which informs a lot of fashion brands. You know, you'll see things like, you know, ASOS Curvy, Topshop Curvy, etc. So they're using some of the data that we've sold to them. So something can be very personal, but you ultimately need to validate how big of a problem that is for other people. And hearing, you know, all of you speak, you've done that in different ways in terms of testing with your customers, finding out data, doing research, etc. So I would say that you need to validate that problem even if it is a personal problem.
Fantastic, excellent. And therefore, as we hear often, don't think about the product that you love and try and find a customer, find a problem, and then be the answer, hopefully, to that problem. Okay. And did you speak about lively tuition? And
I did not know. Lively tuition, so it was a couple of years ago, it was in the lockdown, and I was like, okay, I haven't done a master's program that I enjoy, so I've done master's programs to get promoted. And then I found a master's program I wanted to do around social entrepreneurship and social innovation. And Lively came out of a project from that. So what I realised is that a lot of young people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, they want tutoring and they need tutoring, but their parents usually can't afford it. But there is small group tuition, which is groups of 3, 4, 5, which can make it affordable. And actually, there's research that shows it's more impactful in terms of how children learn. So I started Lively Tuition basically as a uni project, back to uni project.
oh, wow, amazing, amazing. I went onto the site today and I noticed that your price point is £13 per hour, and the students might actually be attracted by the fact that they can learn with their friends, which is really lovely. And I like the saying you'd chosen to put on there where Matilda said, somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world. And there were so many different things, including advice for parents going to Parents' Evening. I thought that was so cool. So thank you so much for that. And we now want to talk a bit about challenges. Often we look at entrepreneurs and we're just filled with awe and we're just admiring you and all the wonderful things you've done. Could you talk to us about the challenges you faced and some of the mistakes that you made and how you dealt with them? Phil, could we start with you, please?
We had many challenges and many mistakes. I will try to find the ones which will be the most beneficial. But one of the biggest challenge for I assume everyone will agree. You have a limited amount of budget and you have very big ambitions. So every decision you try to make, it needs to be very strategic, and you need to allocate your resource very on point, which if you are building a company, if it's your first time, it can be very, very challenging. And it's not only budget, but also as a startup founder, your time will be a great resource that you need to really smartly allocate as well. For instance, we are 2 co-founders and we have to deal with everything on the business, from marketing to even customer support. Even at the very early stages, we did some walks and boardings for the dogs. So you really, really have to think productively and say, how am I gonna, you have to always make your decisions best and try to have that on top of your head, that you have to allocate your resources very well. And for the mistakes, I can say that in the very, very early stages of the startup, as we are a B2C, direct to consumer, we started getting calls to customers, paying customers, and we got really excited and started to take everything they said as a feedback and try to give everything they want, and that was a major problem. As I can tie it back to the resources. You don't have all those resources to give, like, to respond all the preferences of your customers. You have to be strategic and stick to your business's core and really care about what your customer, what your target customer needs and your like core solution. Basically, that's what I can say.
Oh, fantastic. I wonder if there are any dog lovers in the room. Could you please put your hands up? Okay, so, well, Piril, you have an audience. Would you like to tell us how it works very quickly?
Yeah, so if you're a dog owner, you go to you download our app, and if you need dog walking, boarding, or daycare, like daytime care or overnight stays, you answer a couple of questions about your dog, some personality, physical, etc. And then we find your dog's perfect match on demand. So you can, of course, book scheduled bookings, but also we have a walk type that your walker comes to your door within an hour.
Fantastic. Okay, so oh yes.
Can I ask a question?
We're going to break convention. One quick question, and then we will proceed.
Okay, how far?
Oh, there's a microphone
It's a
coming
nice
to you,
little
Taras.
people from the back.
How far into the MVP did you move to an app? So having an app? Because you said you worked through a website.
We started out with a website. Because of the pandemic, counting that in as well, it was a very rough year for us. It took us a year for us to move to an app, and it was also a pandemic was another reason for that.
Okay, and very, very quickly, before we move to Naveen next, could you tell us how much it costs to develop the app, please?
We used outside, as I mentioned earlier, like we spent £10,000 on developing that, which is below the market right now, if you're wondering, because we worked with Turkish software developers.
Okay, fantastic, excellent. Naveen, could I hand over to you next to talk about your challenges and how you overcame them, please?
Sure. There were quite a few challenges in my situation. So I started Playdate during lockdown, as I mentioned previously, and I used to have a previous business which was doing very well, but then I lost that overnight. So that was the biggest challenge for me, was how do I, get out of the gutter basically. I had a son who was 8 at the time, single mom, living in London with no family, so I really felt the pressure of, I've got to put food on the table for my son. So I really had to pivot very quickly into creating this business. During that time when I was researching, just icing on the cake, I got scammed by the bank, a very horrific bank scam, which basically wiped out all my savings, which I was using to develop Playdate. And at that point, it was kind of a mental breakdown of, okay, do I just pack up, go back home, which is Egypt, which is where I'm originally from, or do I just find a way to get through this? 9 months later, horrific legal case against the bank, which eventually got all my money back, which was great. But that was for me kind of how do you find the motivation to start something when you literally have nothing. And I think with any startup, you have to be willing to take a risk. I think if you're not a risk taker, I think founders have to be risk takers in some degree. There's something you believe in. Not many people probably believe in it as much as you do. So you have to be willing to take that risk. And at that point for me, it was, I had nothing left to lose, literally. So I was all about taking the risk and really sticking to it. My other challenge was because I don't have any tech background. So I come from a marketing background, I'm a marketeer, and I'm very much pro-marketing. I think any successful business, 80% of the success is marketing. You can challenge me on that if you'd like, but I think it's all about marketing. If you have the best product in the world and no one knows about it, no one's going to use it. So I'm all about the marketing, but from a tech side, I had no idea how to start an app. So again, for me, I did a lot of research. I think now you have so many resources available where you can find really great people, freelancers or even overseas developers and software engineers that know how to do things. But so we did also go outside. We used a company out in India. The tech was cheaper than it was locally, but also the challenge for me was not knowing what is good tech and what is bad tech. How long do things usually take? Are these people ripping me off? And if I would go back, I would probably take a coding course or learn more about the tech side of things because I just didn't have that knowledge. And now that I've changed developers 3 times since we launched, and I've moved from various different types, some that were very good with kind of how the app looked, but not so good with the technical side of things. And a lot of it's trial and error, and you've got to be willing to change and make decisions quickly, because with a startup, everything is very fast paced. You don't have time to let's see how it does in a year. No, you've got to quickly pivot and be able to make those fast decisions to change. And so those were kind of the challenges. Mistakes, probably, not maybe choosing the right tech partners. Other mistakes was that I was a solo founder up until this year, so I spent 2 years being a solo founder, which gets very isolating and very lonely, and you tend to become your worst enemy. So I think having a co-founder is really important. You'd be surprised, many of your friends or even family members or colleagues would love to partner with you on a project or on your startup idea. So if I would go back as well, I think the mistake I made was not seek a co-founder earlier on my journey.
Fantastic advice. Thank you ever so much. Letitia, could we come to you with the same question?
In terms of challenges, I mean, we've all spoken quite in detail about the challenges. I think the other challenge to cover is actually money, in particular money to pay people to do work for you. Most people, access to funding is quite difficult because maybe you don't know how or where to go to. You don't have a rich auntie or parents that can sponsor you. So trying to figure out how to raise money for the business, and most of the cases people are raising money to hire people. So some of the things that worked for us was actually to work with university students, so to work with careers department in universities to look for people for roles that we needed in terms of tech, building technology, data modeling, data analysis, because a lot of university students want to have real world experience, and through things like internship programs, placements, even if it's student projects, etc. So that worked for us. And then also in terms of running an accelerator program, a lot of business owners actually don't realise the untapped talents of university students, because they're ready, they're fresh, they're willing to go, they have energy as well. So I know founders that have built businesses, for 5-10 years entirely with students, and later on offered students, equity in their business as well. So in terms of solving funding, that's one of the ways that you can solve funding. Obviously there's things like grants. So for example, the programs that you have here offering, cash prizes and grants are great as well. There's other sources of funding like Innovate UK, other types of competitions as well. And crowdfunding, depending on the kind of business that you have, things like crowdfunding as well. Essentially, getting funded by customers paying for your business is the best kind of funding because it validates your business. So as much as it's good to think about how I can raise money through grants and investments, essentially you need to design and develop products and services that people want to pay for as well. Because, if people are willing to pay for it, the money will come much quicker. So those are some of the challenges. Mistakes, you will definitely make mistakes. Mistakes happen every single day. So for example, recently with one of the businesses that we're working with, she didn't realise that for the last 4 or 5 years she hasn't been charging for her labour for her business. So she's literally been charging for the products and she's out of pocket. So people will make mistakes like that. Sometimes it's not knowing what you're supposed to do, and sometimes it's just being so busy and not being able to put things in place. So mistakes can happen, but it's what you do as a result of, in response to those mistakes that is more important.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much. And Dr. Marie, would you share your view on that, please?
Sure. I mean, everybody has covered that very well. I think on the challenges, I would love to add that it depends on the stage and it depends where you are in the journey. At the beginning, getting funding, got the fund and trying to execute, the challenges will be really different and you will face them. And for me, I think the most common part was that every challenge at the first hour, it seems unsolvable. It's like, we're not going to get out of this. But then, no, you get out of it and then to the next challenge. And the next challenge is the same pattern. until you like automatically recognize it. Okay, my brain is saying this is insolvable, but you'll get through it eventually. That's the challenge part. In terms of the mistakes, yeah, you will do mistakes. I think probably every few hours, not just every day. And there was one famous drug developer once said, I do mistakes, but I don't do them twice. I think that's the most important thing. Don't be afraid that you're going to do mistakes or you're going to take a decision that turned to be a mistake, because it's going to happen. We're not prophets. We're going to make mistakes. Just bear in mind that if a mistake happened, okay, it's a lesson. We learn it's not going to happen again, hopefully. And that's how I think successful people navigate through journeys.
Excellent, thank you. I'm now going to ask you all to just take yourselves back to your classrooms in Westminster. Hopefully that brings a smile to your faces. And I'd like you to think about the contribution that your studies might have made to your decisions to become entrepreneurs. And also talk about what you wish you could have done when you were studying, because people say youth, sometimes youth is wasted on the youth. Personally, I don't believe that, because our students are very motivated and use their time well. But I'm going to give you a few seconds to just kind of be in that place, and any one of you can start in answer to this. Go for it.
Because when you asked, it just like sparked the memory in my head. So during my master's, during my PhD, I think, you spent a lot of time in the lab, a lot of time studying, and I had always this in the back of my head, why we're not doing a lot of fun, why we're not enjoying our life, and why I'm spending so much time in the library. It just doesn't seem fair. But years later, I think it really paid off, and it really paid off very, very well. And if there is one thing that I would like to go back and do, is actually spending more time on understanding the stuff that I had to do, because yeah, it pays off very well at the end.
Wow, that's amazing. I couldn't have paid you to say that, but that's fantastic. Who would like to go next, please?
I can go. It was so long ago. I'm just, 2005 was before social media, was before so many things. And I look at you all now and I'm so envious, because I wish I was, had access to all these things during the time. But I had a very different experience to you, Doctor, because in marketing it was a lot of fun. I don't know who's doing marketing in here, marketing communications, but it was just all about, creative thinking, and I loved the freedom that came with kind of any idea was a good idea, and it was very much an inspiring place for me, coming from a culture and a country that doesn't really kind of promote free thinking and that kind of thing. It was very liberating for me to be within that kind of climate where I can just be very creative in my thinking. I do wish that we had access to these amazing programs such as Elevate and these incubators. None of that was available at the time, and even entrepreneurship wasn't really a degree, or there was nothing like that at the time. But I think my hunger for business and kind of entrepreneurship began within that marketing communications masters that I did.
Lovely, and that would be Anne Barker, perhaps?
Yes, it was actually. Yeah.
Amazing.
Excellent. Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Yes, so I think one of the, I'm not going to talk about the classroom and the study aspect, but I'm a part of Elevate. I'm in the Elevate's first cohort, and it's still going on. And even we are near the end right now, and I can say that definitely if you have a business and if you're eligible for all the requirements, definitely apply for the program, because for every stage of the business, they give really good resources, mentorship, everything, like even funding, which many universities do not give access to, like this kind of things to their alumni. So I felt very, very lucky to be Westminster alumni, because they truly support entrepreneurs. They just don't act like they're supporting, but they give a lot of resources to this. So I can talk about this with them.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much. And Letitia, please.
Yeah, so for me, I think the assignments and the group work, is something that I remember. And as much as those assignments and those group work, sometimes it can be really challenging working with different people, different personalities, characters, motivations. Work life is like that. The way you organise them, especially working in a startup with zero resources, a lot of those things come back in terms of how to organise the work, how to allocate it to people, how to motivate people. So I remember, for example, subjects like organisational development, and I'd open the textbook and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate this subject. But fast forward, it makes sense now in terms of how to motivate people, how to organise things. So, things that you learn in terms of business administration are evergreen. I remember the first business plan that I wrote, business plans are still pretty much the same. You have to do the same things like market research, competitor analysis, etc. So the university experience really does ground a lot of the theoretical things that you're going to experience running a startup, even if you don't realise that you're doing it. And yeah, I mean, those things are, for me, I remember them as being fun now. They were fun at the time, but looking back on it, it really was like, the first time working in a group and trying to motivate everybody and so forth. So yeah, those things are important because it comes back up later on.
Fantastic. So for all our students who keep saying, I really hate working in a group, life's like that. And nobody has all the strengths or all the skill to be able to do anything on their own. And at the end of the day, even if you did stuff on your own, you still have to find a customer. You still have to talk to people. But I know our students here today are not saying anything like that. Before we move on to questions from the floor, our very last question to you, ladies, is how do you manage the stress, the workload, how it feels when you're alone, etc., etc.? What are the strategies you have for coping? And I think we will go last to you because you're the one who kind of has the expertise. And Dr. Wareed, you'll be telling us about living very long. So let's start with Letitia. We'll come back to you there, and then we'll go.
Okay, so when you run a startup, you're literally working 7 days a week. That's the reality. You don't get to switch off. It can become very overwhelming, and you will experience things like burnout, your mental health will suffer, so on and so forth. But I think the really important thing to do is to actually schedule self-care time and time away, and it's really difficult to do that because you feel like I could be doing something in this time that I'm taking off for myself. But the reality is you can't work all of the time. So whatever your self-care is, do that for yourself. So for me, for example, I roller skate, so I will literally just take 20 minutes in a day, go and skate somewhere, do yoga, or sometimes just mooch around and watch Netflix, You've got to be careful with that though, because sometimes you want to watch everything, you want to watch the entire series. But whatever your self-care is, make sure that you schedule time in to do self-care because it's something that's so easy to just ignore. And yeah, see your friends, meet your friends, have like-minded friends as well. There's a lot of co-working spaces out there, so if you are a solo entrepreneur, make sure that you're going to those co-working spaces to meet other entrepreneurs as well, and actually share the experience. Sometimes your friends, other friends may not understand your entrepreneurship experience, so it's good to connect with other entrepreneurs as well and be able to share that. So yeah, those are my tips.
Lovely, thank you ever so much. Carol, could we come to you next?
I have a huge advantage. My co-founder, she's also here. Whenever I'm down and my emotions are with building a startup, it's roller coaster, up and down every time. And maybe within a day, I get 10 breakdowns. And she's always there to support me. Whenever I'm down and I'm I'm not gonna work now. And she works harder to balance that out. So she is my savior at that point. So it's an advantage for me. I'm not sure everyone has that, but look out for co-founders. That can be my advice.
Excellent. And co-founders that are a bit different to you in personality and so on.
Yeah.
And I always think about some of my friends. When I'm flying with all sorts of ideas, they just bring me back to earth and help me get balanced. Naveen, would you like to talk to this?
Sure. So I really appreciate your advice because I don't take enough time for self-care. And I think as a solo founder, I think the best advice you gave was connecting with other founders. So there's so many, especially for women, lots of like women collectives and founders and entrepreneur networks, because my friends don't really understand what I'm going through. And yes, it can get very isolating and really, really stressful. Thankfully, I love what I do, so I'm happy to do it all the time. But then, I still have to be a parent and I have to wear the mommy and daddy hat, so it's, there's a lot on my plate all the time. But because I'm so driven by the love I have for the product, that it's, it kind of keeps me going. But yes, self-care, I think, that's the best advice. I'm really guilty of not taking enough time out. But yeah, I think you just have to figure out what your why is. What's your why? Like, why are you doing this? And I think that's really, really important. And remind yourself of that constantly every day. And I think what makes people successful in the startup world is just having that resilience of, there will be ups and downs, probably more downs than ups, but the ups will be so worth it. And yeah, just, sticking with it.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much. Now to Dr. Waleed, please.
Thank you so much. So I think it's very important to understand that work is part of you as a founder. It doesn't represent you as a founder. Because as the panelists mentioned, there is a lot to do and you have this big ambition. And the more you go in the journey, the more you become consumed by it to at some point where everything in my life is my company. And every success and every happiness is my company. And try to avoid that. No, I'm my own person. I have other things that do exist. And I need to take care of them, whether that is your personal life, whether that's your hobbies, whether that's something new that you want to learn. For example, this semester I decided, okay, I'm learning a new language. It's difficult. I'm learning German now. It's very hard to connect in like a cognitive way, but I'm putting the time. I'm switching off because my company doesn't represent me, and that's way you can somehow overcome the shadow stress that comes from running a startup, because as the panelists say, it's just an emotional roller coaster, and you need to make sure that this is not consuming you. Obviously, it's so easy to say. It's very hard in practice, but it's important that we keep reminding ourselves of that. And from like a health perspective, I think probably the single thing you can do that can either improve your 24 hours significantly or just demolish them significantly is stress. If you control stress, then you are really giving yourself a very good start ahead of the day. And if you are losing the control over the stress, you're really giving yourself a hard start of the day. Sometimes stress is important. Like it's good when you have this cortisol level. It helps us wake up in the morning. It helps us, sometimes you need it in certain exams or presentations, but just be aware that this is something you need to control, because that which will help elevate the day, the 24 hours that we all have, same equal, no matter what we do, or just demolish them. So yeah, stress control, I think it's one of the main learnings for me.
Fantastic. Gentlemen and ladies, I think this is a good time to applaud our panelists for all they shared. So I'm a stickler for writing notes, and I've written down all sorts of things, but before we go any further, we'd like to just open things up to the audience. I believe we have a microphone somewhere, and we have our first person. So could we, we have our second, fantastic. Where's the microphone? Oh, there. Right, I'm going to try and keep track. Okay, so the gentleman in the second row, please. Thank you. Gentleman in the second row, just there, please. No worries, that's fine.
Thanks everyone, that was really good. My name is Ali. My question is to Naveen and Peril. So I know you kind of have developed an app-based, a tech-based company. And I know you talked about your desk research, there being over 1,000 dating apps, and then you saying that you did a back end and you went out to kind of do the walks yourselves. Were there any other tricks or any other ways which you conducted your research that kind of validated your idea?
So obviously there's desktop research, which is the easiest way to start, just to see what's out there, but also going out and talking to your customer. So I spoke to a lot of other single parents, I tested it, I did focus groups, and with social media now and LinkedIn and all of these resources available, you can really find your customer quite quickly just to test it out, just testing the idea out. And also desktop research, there's also lots of lists available online of companies or research that you can get for free. So not everything is paid for, so if you're on a limited budget, you can still find a kind of stats and research based on the kind of topic, the idea that you've got. That helps.
I believe the best thing is to start in a very small point. Like, don't just, I mean, for me, research, we even went out to parks and found like dog owners, speaking to them, asking like, would they be like, would they want to use this kind of product? We got rejections 100%. Like, and everyone said, oh my God, someone's gonna take my dog, I don't trust this, etc. And then we were, let's see, we never quit, but we said like, let's see if we truly put this solution in a very minimal way to an owner's, to a customer's perspective, what are they gonna do? And with, as I said, like with not even with a budget, with a WordPress website and with speaking to people, neighbors. We started out with neighbors, like asking them if they need anything, etc. Our first customer was our neighbor. So I think in a very lean way, trying the solution is the best way to test.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. To the gentleman, please.
Thank you. This question is for all. I think it was partly answered to the question you just answered. So mine is, how do you manage the innovation element to make sure your business will meet the demand in 5-10 years? Like automation, there's so many disruptors, and you have to make sure that there is a sustainable growth. Thank you.
Letitia, would you like to speak to that, and then we'll come to Dr. Wahid?
Okay, so interesting. In terms of innovation, I think it's important to have an innovation register. So, for example, in your business, you're going to have different versions of your product, and you can't accomplish all of those versions to begin with. So it's good to register what they are, and over time spend some time doing R&D. So R&D is really important, and is something actually that you can be reimbursed for. So a lot of businesses don't realise it, but the government has a program, R&D tax credits. So whatever time and money you spend in R&D, you can get some, it's like a tax rebate back on it. So that is a way of committing to innovation, knowing that you will get a rebate, but also in terms of keeping on top of things in your industry, just, reading up and going to events, going to expos, what's the latest in your industry that's happening, what are the talking points. If you have the time and the resources, becoming a thought leader, and talking about, blogging about what's happening as well, because you will find that as you are putting yourself in those spaces, you're not only exposing yourself to new ideas, but also exposing yourself to kind of developing your own internal ideas. The final thing that I will say is technology transfer is really important. So how do you actually transfer that knowledge to become something which is a product, which is a venture? So also it's good to document your processes for doing that, because you can save time when you have new ideas and so forth.
Lovely, thank you. Dr. Wahid, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. Very good question. And I echo what you say very much. It's one of the main challenges, product innovation, and being, making sure you're going to be alive in a few years' time. Probably listen that with if you are a tech company, with the innovation that is happening and the acceleration that is happening in the machine learning and tech space. For us, we try to commit some time with the main team to understand, okay, who might kill us? How does it look like? Who gonna kill us in this business? What, our biggest threat? who is this, what does it look like, and try to gather some ideas on how we can overcome this from happening today. But when we're thinking, okay, in 2 years' time or in 3 years' time, what could kill our existence? And try to think backward from there. And we try to make this as often as we can. That's one of the tools we try to use. Obviously, there are large schools about product innovation and in different sectors. And if you start reading about this or like going through workshops on product innovation, it's mind-blowing what's happening there. So you find different tools, you apply them, and you see what work best with your team dynamic. For us, this has been like the most impactful, I would say. And yeah, always update your product map. Always update your product map. It's never the same or similar like between each quarter. But yeah.
That's really helpful. I think there's a gentleman called Fredericks who talked about prospective thinking and perspective taking. So thinking about the future and what it could be like, and then thinking about the customers whose shoes you're walking in or hoping to walk in. I wonder whether Naveen and Kira might want to comment on the same thing, please.
I can say, maybe an interesting take from me would be, you can also, when researching for the competitors and who can kill you, look for global, other countries, especially where your business sector is really good. For instance, pet care, it's huge in the US. So we never look for within the UK. We always search globally in different markets, even Australia, even really different markets, because some innovation can happen elsewhere, and it can also be advantageous for you because you can take that benefit to here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think you've all, mentioned everything. I think another thing I would add is looking at it from a consumer perspective. So maybe the innovation is in the kind of the demographic that you're targeting, an untapped demographic. So in my case, single parents. How are they not being addressed through dating apps? And dating apps is a very, very, very competitive space, and it's really, there's thousands of dating apps, and the technology behind it isn't so innovative. I mean, they all basically more or less use the same technologies. So it's not, for us, it's not so much about the technology, but how can we address the problem that this very specific niche audience has in a way that no one else has done it, and how can we continue to do that? So maybe in 5-10 years we go beyond dating and it becomes, support for parents with their children, or it could be counseling, it could be something else. But we've got access, or we've got this, you've got a customer that has very specific needs and desires, and I think you can disrupt the market in that sense as well. So not just from a product perspective, but also from what your audience wants.
Perfect, thank you. I believe we had a lady with a hand up, please.
Which one's
Please put your hand up high, thank you.
Can I ask a question after?
Certainly, sir.
That's amazing information, thank you. My question is regarding talent acquisition, and after you employ people, how do you implement your core beliefs and principles and company values onto your employees?
Carol, I wonder whether you would go first as you're more recent. So to speak.
I'm not the best, I think, because if we are talking about mistakes, I can answer this question very well, because I don't believe expanding the team is a huge important thing. I think if you're a startup and even one person makes a huge difference in your team, because you don't have thousands of people working for you. So for us, the most important thing for us is to have someone in the team that shares the same passion with us, that believes in the future of the business. Because if it's a startup, you cannot just hire someone that wants to work 9 to 6 and then get paid. And that's why the answer can be for me is not hiring with a wage, this price or etc., but more hiring people and expanding the team with their, like, thinking about their ambitions, thinking about their goals? Are there parallel to your company, plus working them through KPIs, working them through like equity options for the future? Like hiring according to this, I think it's the key for startups.
Lovely. Thank you ever so much. Having common values is really important. What do you think?
Yeah, I think being a solo founder and only having formed a team really recently, so we're now a team of 4. I think throughout my journey, you realize first of all as a founder what you're not good at, and I think we all have to be quite honest with ourselves. I'm horrible when it comes to numbers and budgets and finance. That's not my area, and it was very apparent to me like where I struggled. And actually, as founders, yes, you have to do everything, but you're not particularly good at everything. So for me, it was kind of recognizing, okay, which areas do I really need support? Because we don't have money as startup founders. You don't have that many resources. And it's also about selling the dream to people. So, you're going to be part of something big, and they join you on the journey. They're not working for you, they're working with you. And they're like, I love what Steve Jobs had once said, like, we hire people to tell us we hire good people to tell us what to do. We don't hire good people to tell them what to do. And that was really what I was looking for. I wanted someone to tell me what to do when it came to forecasting and budgets. I wanted someone to tell me what to do when it came to other parts of the business that I wasn't, the tech side of things, for example. So I think having the ability to sell the dream is really, really important. That this is going to be something really big in 5-10 years, and it's your, they have to share that passion, as we said. And also the whole equity thing, because you can't afford to pay massive salaries. They have to buy into that dream and know that they're going to have a piece of something huge one day. And I think every founder truly believes in their business, so it's kind of convincing them that this is going to be, the next big thing, and giving them a piece of that, something amazing, and recognizing which areas that you truly need support in. Because you can go out and hire a group of, I could hire a team of marketing experts, but I'm a marketer myself. That's not an area I need support in. So it's really recognizing which areas you really do need support in.
Fantastic. I wonder if Dr. Mareed and Letitia might want to speak to that as well, please.
All of the above, plus I think it's actually good to bring in, if you have the budget, an external person for people and culture, because sometimes you're not conscious of your own habits and how it, wears off on the team, or how to structure a team and how to structure a culture. So, for example, the organisation that I work for, we are 100% remote, and it's really difficult to create a culture. So we have a people and culture person, and they come in once or twice a week, and they help us to develop things like, having virtual coffees, because we don't have the moment where you're going to meet your colleague in the hallway and have an impromptu lunch. So if you have a budget for that, it's really good to hire someone. If you don't have a budget, get volunteers in the team that are willing to drive the culture. And that could be a number of things, like having regular quizzes, or having co-design workshops, etc. You don't always need a budget for that, but I think being conscious about it and actually trying to put structure things in place is a good option.
Thank you. Dr. Mareed.
Thank you. I think everyone covered it very well, from talent acquisition, because it's a huge challenge. If you want to build something innovative, then you are competing in talent with people like Google and Facebook, and you need to be extraordinary to be able to get the talent that you want. So that's something I'm personally still cracking. I think have not found the code yet. But I believe the important thing when it comes to finding people that help you building the dream is that making sure that they are very good at what they do. Probably they don't have the same deep love to what you want to build or achieve, but they're very good at what they do. That's good enough. In terms of embedding the values and the culture and the people around you, I think this is very important. This is very important that they understand what is the culture of this company. Are we building a company to exit in 2 years, or are we building a company that is for 10 years? and like what really we are building and why we are building this. This is very important to have it clear in your head and make sure it's somehow transferred to them. Sometimes only going for a coffee with you, like a new person coming on board, just go for one coffee, 2 coffees, and have this natural chat that has like no interview, no strain. We just talking and laughing and discussing important things in life, and you get these clues that help you understand, okay, what is the category of this person, and do I feel there is some good long-term prosper relationship and that acquisition or not. Sometimes it's really fall to the very, very simple things, not frameworks, and it's very, very simple. We heal in at the end of the day, I think.
Fantastic.
Can I add a couple of points on that?
By all means,
just
go
on the
right
hire
ahead.
thing. Firstly, it's freelancers. I think as a startup, there's something called Upwork and something called Fiverr, which I've used throughout the journey. Amazing people, and I was a freelancer myself when I first started. I really support freelancers, but also they are a great resource, and for not for a lot of money, so you don't have to actually hire people kind of on payroll when you're starting up. The other thing was, don't underestimate your circle of friends and network and family members that might know someone who knows someone who would love to, who's got the skill set that you're looking for, and you'd be surprised how many friends might actually just want to help you out for nothing. So yeah, just to make it points.
Excellent. And I believe students and, of course, our alumni and guests are building their networks. It's so amazing what your network can actually give you. And I guess often we ask, is this person a worker or a co-owner with me? And I think that's a good question to ask ourselves. There was a gentleman who had a question.
I would like to know how many team members everyone had. Also, what was the process when you started your startup or your business? Because these days everyone wants to be entrepreneurs, and you cannot get good team members, you cannot develop a team. I want to know, how did you develop your team to this stage, and also how do you do it? What's the process involved? Thank you.
Okay, who would like to go first?
I can go maybe because I've recently formed a team, only recently. So I'm one of 4, so I've got a co-founder who's my brother as well. And I've got 2 other team members. One of them is our kind of technical CTO, so he's kind of runs our tech. And the other is a business advisor who does all of our business and finance and all that stuff, boring stuff. The way this happened was kind of organic, so there are resources. LinkedIn is actually quite good for finding people. You just post a job, you say what you're looking for, and if you've got a budget, you can include that budget. But there's always some kind of equity involved. So I had to part with equity to get a good CTO, and to get a good business advisor. A business advisor came through a friend, so it's a boyfriend of one of my really good friends who does consulting, and he loved the idea, so he bought into the dream. So he does that on kind of a friendly basis. The CTO came from another dating app, so I kind of had to do a bit of hustling to get him across to join Playdate and sell the dream, but also had to give him a bit of equity, which generally happens at a stage when you're looking to hire some really qualified people in your business. And then again, family members and colleagues and friends. So I convinced my brother, who actually doesn't live here, but he's a great business person, who we don't really get along all the time, but he tends to keep me in check in a lot of areas. And having a family member also helps because they have the permission to tell you off when you're not doing things the way that they should be done. So I think it's a lot of moving parts, and it depends on what kind of budget you have. But for me, I found that LinkedIn was a great resource, but also there's something called Angel List, which is a platform that you can find lots of good recruits, especially people that are looking to join startups, so they know what they're getting into. So it's just for startups, and it's part of something called Well Found, which is an angel network group. So that's how I formed the team.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to comment?
I think so. In terms of building your team, if you're starting and you have an idea and like to explore that with a team, for example, there are a couple of accelerators. Probably use one of them.
Can I plug that in a minute?
Yeah, there are a couple of accelerators in Europe and UK. I was part of one of these accelerators. It's called Antler. It was a great experience. I did not meet our tech from Antler, but so it was Antler experience, fantastic. I didn't meet anyone that was very compatible with me, but after the program, I was working on the project and having coffee with a friend, a colleague actually, and telling him about the business, and he was like, oh, there is this person that is working at something very similar to what you do, he might be helpful, go speak to him. And I went to speak to him, we had coffee, and it turned out to be an excellent matching, and now like probably 3 years down the line, we're still working together. And another coffee where I met someone from the previous cohort of the Antler group, and we found great matching in terms of the vision and what we want to build in life. And 3 years down the line, we're still working together. Before that, there've been many fires in my life, so it happens. But then, yeah, you find the person, and you get to the results that you want.
So thank you, Patricia.
So you mentioned Antler, there's also Zinc as well. There's also founded by, so there are specific programs that will connect you with co-founders, and either it's they have a business idea or you have a business idea. And I'm going to use this to plug our own accelerator. So we've got an accelerator coming up in January and February for 18 to 24-year-olds. So it's going to be 2 hackathon weekends. And all you need to come with is an idea. By the end of the weekend, you will have a business, and then we have a 4-week program where we will sponsor you to have a showcase as well. So check out Do It Now. All our socials and websites are the same. And it's a really good way. Accelerator programs, incubator programs, specific programs are good ways to find a co-founder. What I will say is it is a relationship, as you've all mentioned. So you want to make sure that it's the right person, so you want to vet them. It's like any relationship, any friendship, you want to take time to get to know like personalities, characters, values, etc. And that takes time and processes as well. But it can also be really fun as well. So doing things like incubator, accelerator programs is great because you get to see how they react in certain situations as well, and then you can see if that matches with the way that you work. So yeah.
And probably one last point in like the team, don't go crazy over equity. It's when you're starting, you are worth your equity, even if it's 100%, worth 0 because you have nothing. So don't go crazy over equity because 0 of 100 is really nothing. Be patient, be strategic, and always think ahead, think big. That's how you can go forward fast. But if you keep on like I just want to retain as many equities as I can, especially in the early days, it becomes unattractive. So yeah, that's I think a lesson I like to keep in my mind going forward.
Lovely. Thinking win-win there. Carol, would you like to add anything?
Lastly, I can say everyone had really good points, especially with the accelerators and incubators. I can say that while you are searching for your teammates and co-founders, go into those accelerators not just for the network, but they give a lot of good mentorship and business support. I'm in Elevate from Westminster and Innovate UK. I also have a mentor there, and you won't be alone while you're searching for someone. I can give that advice.
Excellent. Oh, we have a hand. Oh, was there someone first? Please, by all means. Oh, you had your hand up first. Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a question. We all know that being an entrepreneur might be difficult, stressful. So my question is, how do you take care of the mental health side of it when you're under a lot of pressure?
I'm not going to answer that because I'm not very good at that. So.
If you cannot answer, it's fine.
It's challenging. Sometimes it goes down to like very simple things again. I think they asked Elon Musk in one of the interviews, what do you do to keep, like you're running too many businesses and everything is successful and there's too much money involved. What do you do? He was like, I take showers. So sometimes really, and if you think of it, when I reflected on the answers, like, oh, actually, when you have like really tough, long day and then you get to that shower, whether it's at the end of the day, a warm shower, and we don't recognize these things because we do it out of habit. But if you like recognize it, it's something that fill you up with clearance in the head and try to get into a new mode. And if it was in the morning, like a fresh shower in the morning, also it's a space to clear the head. So I'm not that successful yet, so I will take Elon Musk forward. And yeah, I would say simple things, showers, walks in nature. I keep doing like 30 to 40 minutes walks, as many as I can in the week, and it really helps clearing things up from your head. So yeah, it's challenging, but sometimes it's really down to the very simple things that you can do in this 24 hours.
I used to watch reruns of Friends all the time. I mean, I've been through a lot of trauma in my life. So I went through a divorce, a very horrible divorce, and lost my business and all of that. And I remember watching Friends would always make me laugh. So to find the things that bring you joy, or stupid, silly things, they might be very tiny things, but for me, watching Friends would really take me out of the mood and just make me have a laugh. So it's just another idea, whatever works for you.
I think when she said Elon Musk, I remember like sometimes I think when there's a challenge in the business, I think Elon Musk is dealing with like drug cuts and like somebody saving the country, somebody is like doing it, and I'm just like, it's not the worst thing in this world. So I always say, you can use it in your like social and university lives also. I always think about the bigger problem, and I'm like, oh, mine is very small.
And also podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there on mental health or on people going through things similar to you. I find that also very inspiring, also motivating, and keeps me on track. So there's lots of amazing podcasts out there that you can just listen to make you feel that you're not alone.
Letitia mentioned self-care, and I don't know if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, self-care is really important. Exercise is really important as well. Sometimes it's so easy to neglect that. And exercise doesn't have to be, going to the gym and pumping weights. It's whatever you like. It can be a walk, it can be skateboarding, it can be roller skating, it can be anything. But I think making a conscientious effort to actually do it, and I think we all go through that, should I go to the gym? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you try to talk yourself out of it, but when you go, you actually do enjoy it, right? So I think that negative self-talk, to prevent yourself from doing those good things, you have to check it as well, because you can say to yourself, oh, but I'm going to lose, X amount of time from doing work, but then it's going to affect your mental health. And that's like, that point is actually the point that you should go and do something. So whatever your rituals are, try to do them regularly. And also, like, see your friends, see your family. Do you spend time with people outside of work as well?
I would suggest sleep as well, because I find, sometimes you've just been up forever and you think you have to solve every problem before you sleep. But honestly, just sleep and wake up, and often it feels better in the morning. I don't know about you, but it works for me now and then. Okay, who do we go to next? And may I give responsibility to you for that? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Sechi. I just wanted to ask Letitia about, you said you sold 3 businesses, and I just want to understand, did you sell the actual assets, or were you selling the intellectual property? Because I find it quite interesting that we haven't dived into the concept of that we can sell ideas for millions. And there's those startup businesses like Snapchat, even Netflix, they had no money, but they had an idea that they sold to someone who had money, and that's all it takes. And so I just want to know the process in which that's it. Additionally, I understand that doing business-to-business sales is also one of the best ways to solidify forms of payment monthly, because my issue as well is knowing that within a contract there's certain things you have to stick up to as well as what they want to keep to, and so you have to stand and be a professional body, and I just want to know the kind of process it takes to be respected by another business enough to buy something.
Really, really good questions. Yeah, excellent questions. Okay, so my first startup, I actually sold the asset. So it was my skincare business, and it got into quite a bit of growth where I would have to like backwards integrate and start going into manufacturing. And I didn't have the experience in manufacturing, and for me it was a good time to sell, so I did a trade sale. And so that included, for example, the contracts, also the network that I had in terms of the resources, the natural resources and ingredients as well. The second startup, which was the data company, we sold the intellectual property and still have a share, like a very small share in that. And sometimes it's very difficult to, sell your business because you think that's my baby. But then for me, the conversation I had with myself and with my advisors is that it's better to sell to a business that can do more with it. So to try to be a fashion brand, in a very saturated market would have been really difficult, whereas there are already brands out there and they needed that data. And also it was like, it's better to have a small piece, of a very big cake as opposed to owning 100% of something that isn't worth a lot. In terms of protecting your intellectual property, I think it's really important to start that journey early. So the British Library has really good resources in terms of understanding your intellectual property, what is intellectual property, so on and so forth, and how to protect that. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be, a huge brand, a huge organization to already start doing that. Your other question about business to business. So the most important thing for any business is reputation, paying on time, who you know, and also, how you deliver, like your know-how, what is different about you from any other business. And it might be that you are helping them solve a problem, you understand something about, a segment of the market that they don't understand or they can't access. So for example, with my data company, we were very lucky that we had somebody who came up with a really good idea about accessing women in prisons, right, and had the data. Because naturally, women in prison, they measure them anyway, right, in order to give them, their outfits, but we'll call it outfits, right? So we had that data, right? So also we were able to find, a problem that needed to be solved, but for those organizations, they didn't think about solving it in that way. So you need to think about how to differentiate yourself as well. And sometimes it's really looking at, grassroots. Maybe, for example, we talk about the global majority. The global majority is very nuanced as well. There's a lot of nuances that you might specifically be able to access in your community that, other businesses don't know about, they don't know how to access them, how to reach them. So yeah, I would say, the usual things like reputation, showing up in terms of time, money, etc., but also the insights that you're able to offer and how you articulate and differentiate that to prospective businesses. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the business-to-business bit, and then we're coming to this gentleman, Dr. Wareed, I know yours is business-to-business. Could you speak to that first, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, when we started we started the company with the concept of business to consumer or direct to consumer as a replication from a US successful business. And when we started, we very quickly realized that the business to consumer didn't strongly capitalize on our strengths. We were academic, we were scientists, we were not able to speak the marketing language. We were not that good at it. It wasn't our strength. And then we were like, okay, let's try and experiment with the B2B business, with the business-to-business model and see how this is going to work out. And we found that when we tried the business-to-business model, we actually really did very high conversion rates. We were very good at having conversations with these business owners, with medical directors, with clinic directors, and we quickly realized we actually speak the same languages, and we had some good credentials on our advisory board and some good credentials from people backing the business that could relate and correlate very quickly to our customers, which were the businesses. And then we realized actually that's here where this is a strength for us, and we're supposed to capitalize on that, and that's how we continuing into iterating the business model around this specific strength. And with every conversation with your business, you learn something new about what really clicking from your side with them and what really is not working with them. And we found out as well that when we send someone who is not scientific, for example, who's not a medical doctor, it usually didn't go that well as if we send someone who is a medical. And so you gather these data as you go, and then you have a very good understanding of, okay, this category of businesses, I know how we might have some insights on how we can approach them. And at the beginning, you will have a very personalized, I think in our case, we had a very personalized case by case for dealing with the businesses. Also, in a startup, you try to standardize things as much as you can because you don't have time. In our case, we were probably because it's very sensitive. What we do is it's a medical communication, it's a health-related decision-making. So the way that works with us really very good is that with every single clinic or with every single client, we would do an extensive research and try to personalize the product or the offerings as much as we can toward them.
Lovely, thank you ever so much. I know there are a number of questions still unasked, but we do have to wrap things up. This gentleman must ask his question. The way he's looking at me means, there's just no way he's going home without asking a question. And, oh no, please, you are going to be our last person, and then what we'll do is give the panel a chance to just say their last couple of sentences to us, and then we'll go into kind of networking and having a bite to eat, and by all means, please do add on any resources that you haven't mentioned that we could use. Sir, you have the mic.
So thank you all for taking the time to come here tonight for us. What I wanted to ask, and you might or might not want to answer, is from the starting point of your business up to now, what equity are you left with? And does that reflect on the hard work you've put into the business, and are you happy with it? Obviously, that's your choice to answer.
So you see why that was the last question. Okay.
It's a hard one. I think because I'm in a very different stage, so I've raised money from a VC already. So I've gone through a couple of rounds of fundraising already, so I have parted with some equity. However, I'm not saying I'm going to be a unicorn or anything like that, but I do believe that this business is going to be a global dating app. I have a lot of plans and ambitions for the future. I will not give you the exact number, but I will say that I parted with a little bit, not that much, because obviously it's important for founders to, maintain majority, and as much as you can, like the doctor said. It's important to keep as much of it as possible. But I think it's a very personal decision. I believe that I will eventually end up with a small piece of something massive, and I'm not just being arrogant or saying that. I truly believe that this could be a global business. The market is huge. There's 320 million single parents across the globe, and I think that if we continue to do it right, it can become something really, really big. So it depends on where you are and what you believe. But yes, I parted with it a little bit, not much. But yes, I'm not going to say the exact amount. But you have to make those decisions at some point. And bringing in a VC that has the knowledge and the capacity and resources to help me grow and scale, because not every founder can run a giant business. You might have the vision and the passion, but you might not have what it takes to really make a business scalable. And that's a decision that I took. I hope that answers it very much.
I'm 50% equity with my co-founder, so she has 50. We never gave away any equity yet. But it's not that I'm against it, but because we are B2C, we are using that power, we are bootstrapping, we are revenue generating. So and it's only been a year since the app has launched. So up until now, we have been able to afford what we spend. However, I agree with her to the point. Right now, it's time for us to scale and grow. So in that case, I agree to her that giving away equity to the right, smart money is not a bad idea.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. On continuing on the point of smart money, I think equity do not correlate with the hard work you put in or someone else put in. Like you can bring a developer that will work 24 hours for 7 days. That doesn't mean they would have a significant amount because they put hard work. So equity and hard work, they are not in a proportional relation. Sometimes you get an intro from someone that just put a good word about you or about your business to a very related person that do a deal with you, and at the same time it takes your value 10x with this deal with someone who made a word. So do they deserve lots of equity? Do they deserve very little equity? Did they work really hard? So it's not a hard work mentality, it's really being smart game. And this doesn't mean that we will not work hard. Even when you do like the smart thinking, it's working hard. Taking decisions, knowing who to speak with, at what time, and why, and being very, very intentional in your tasks, in your day-to-day acts is very important. And just be open to lose, to give away things in order to, and sometimes you will give away some equity for very lost hopes, and that's a lesson you learn. So yeah, they don't translate to hard work, unfortunately.
I think you want to be smart, right? Because in every round you want to be able to negotiate smartly, and there's a lot of resources out there in terms of, you know, how much equity to give away at each round. So for example, pre-seed up to 13%, Series A like 37% including previous rounds. So you do want to be smart and guided. And in terms of hard work, I mean, on the one hand, you have to incentivize people, you know, somehow. So either it's investors or it's your employees. But I think it's also good to have an internal conversation with yourself in terms of how comfortable you feel in the end giving away equity. So for example, in the end, you know, I have a very small share in my previous businesses, but I like the start of creating something from the beginning and going on to the next business. So even if you end up giving away all of your equity with, you know, whatever business it is, that's not the end of your entrepreneurship career. You can also go on to start other businesses as well. But I think you want to be smart, you know, along the way. And in terms of hard work, I mean, you know, you want to hire the right people and make sure they're working hard anyway, right? So, yeah.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for being so patient. We are just going to take 3 minutes of your time. Each speaker is only permitted 2 sentences as a parting shot. And okay, so 2 sentences. Do you want 30 seconds to think? What are these 2 sentences that people will remember the rest of their lives? And as we know from Dr. Marie, we're going to be living very long. So.
No pressure.
Please go on. 2 sentences.
Right up, haven't you? Okay, so 2 sentences. So first and foremost, there's a lot of diversity in this room, and that is so wonderful to see, whether it's cultural backgrounds, gender, experience, lived experience, etc. And I think that's something that creates ingenuity in terms of the problems that you can create, the problems that you are solving, and the businesses that you can create, you know, because of your lived experience, because of the diversity that you have. The second thing as well is that in order to be investable, you know, you need to make sure that as a founder, you understand fundamental things around business, whether it's going on, you know, startup, incubators, accelerators, and learning, you know, what to do and what not to do. It's really important, especially when you get to the investment stage, because you'll watch programs like The Dragon's Den and founders that go in there and they don't know what they're talking about, they get eaten alive. So, invest in getting to know like what's the right thing to say, how to present yourself, how to present your business, etc.
Okay, those are 2 sentences, believe it or not, fantastic. Over to you, Marie. Dr. Marie,
I'll keep it to 2 sentences. Number 1, ideas are everywhere and they don't worth anything. What really worth is execution and how far you can go with execution. The second thing, the most accurate and confident way that you will fail is that if you give up. As long as you continue, you are not failing. There's a chance that you are not failing. Once you give up, then that's 100% failure. There were many points in our startup journey where we were like, okay, we are dead in a bit, but then the following thing happens is a round and then another round and then another client. And when I think about it, like probably one of the significant parts is that we really kept going even when it was hard. With the right conviction. You don't want to keep going blind, but with the right conviction, keep going and don't give up like very quickly.
Okay, we're still doing well. Okay, here we go. 2 sentences.
2 sentences, I promise. First, definitely starting is the hardest thing, but don't think too much, just start. Like thinking is losing some time. Start right away and you'll learn it on the way. And the second is if you really want something, knock 1,000 doors, like maybe 1,000,000 doors. Only one will open, but that will worth it. So don't just attack everywhere and try everything, basically.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Yes, please.
All of the above. And 2 things. Being a marketeer, I have to say this. Practice your own personal skills, because you as the founder, you are the product at the end of the day. You represent your product. So if you're not convincing me or an investor or a potential co-founder, they're not going to, if you don't believe in it and you don't show that confidence and your belief, they're not going to buy into it. So that's something that took me a while to learn. And most people are not comfortable with that, people especially that are not public facing or not really in the whole PR world. But I found that it was very useful for me to be out there in terms of public speaking or building my confidence skills, because when I sit with someone, I can really sell the product and the idea. So I think invest in building those skills in terms of confidence and presenting your idea. And the other thing was really around not quitting. I think I'm a very stubborn person by nature. I get motivated by no. You will get a lot of no's. So when we did our fundraising, we got maybe 20 no's before we got a yes, and it can really kill your confidence. And you think, oh, this is a horrible idea. No one's buying into it. But I think, I don't know who said it on a podcast, but basically every no is a step closer to a yes. And you just have to be resilient and stick with it. And I think so. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. So,
fantastic, ladies and gentlemen, please join me. We've had a fantastic evening. We've learned so much, and we're very grateful to you, Naveen, Pearl, Dr. Reed, and Letitia. We have one little task for you all, and being at each other had to be something. You have a survey on your chair or in your hand at this time. We would like to please ask that you complete that for us, and also please remember there will be other What It Takes events coming up. We thank our panel for giving up their time and for being back with us to hopefully impact and change our lives. Okay. Good evening, everyone.